My name is Adolphus Watson. I'm 92 years old. I was born in Cannon, Arkansas. I was born in 1922. My childhood was kind of lonesome. I only had one brother, and we was not raised together because my great auntie raised me. And I was without any brother or sister to be with all the time. I was a lonely kid, And I missed not having a family like other children did. So it was very lonely. My parents' name was Susie Watson, and my father was named Jesse Watson. They lived in a different town from where I was. As I told you, my great auntie raised me, and she was a slave. So you see, she was an old woman when I was born. But I loved that old lady, Well, the grade school I went to, it was a nice school. We had nice teachers there. It only went to the 9th grade. For the black kids, the white kids, they had high school. And they had buses that carried them back and forth to school. We had to walk to school. Even now, some of the kids had to walk for 4 miles to school and 4 miles back. But the white school kids had buses would pass up them boys and girls walking, but they couldn't give them a ride to school. So it wasn't a happy life for a black kid in the South. The worst thing I saw in races, my aunt had a cafe there, and this lady, she didn't have no alcohol or nothing I know of. She come out and this policeman beat that woman, and it was about 8 or 10 black men. And I asked him, I said, why don't y'all ask the policeman not to kill the lady? They didn't know what it, even though they was too scared to open their mouth, even to ask the man. Sure enough, the lady died the next day. And wasn't nothing done about it. Wasn't nothing done about it. I had no dream that I would ever see a black person. And I think our president is doing a beautiful job, but the House, they don't work with him. You just look back how many bills that they have passed that he brought to them. He have no help. So how can a man come to do the thing that he would want to do if he have no help to do it? This is the worst House that we've ever had, because they don't want to see him do well because he's a black man. President Roosevelt was the best president this country ever had. He took over this country in one of the worst depression that you ever had. It was no work. People that had money, banks had closed. They had nothing. It was all over the country. And he started the WPA, the NRA, the 3 C's for boys, and he started something I'm really proud of. He started this thing called Social Security. Because years ago, if you didn't have children to take care of you when you got too old to work, you just stayed somewhere and starved to death. But now he fixed it where you have a nice living when you get to be old. And I really praise that old man for doing all these things for this country. Well, she was a frisky little old girl. She had big legs, small body built, and I, I figured she'd be a good wife, you know, and I was right. She's a good wife, a lovely mother, and I'm very proud of her. Well, that night they was going to a revival, and so I said, I want to walk with peace with you all. I want to talk with you. So I asked them that I wanted to marry their daughter Lerdine. And her mother spoke out first. She said, no, she's too young. She get a house for her kids and be back home. Because, see, my parents left me when I was 6 years old. And this is what she was going about, what my dad did. And so my wife's father stopped her. He said, now, wait a minute, Berkeley. You judging Adolphus by his father. He's not his father. Now, you have to tell me something that you don't prove of Adolphus. She said, no, Adolphus is a good worker, and I know he will provide for my daughter better than anybody I know of. He said, well, you ain't got a leg stand on this, you better. Yeah. No, she said, no, not if I come to that. Yeah. So they give me the leave to marry. Oh, my first job, I was 14 years old. I worked on harvest of rice, oats, and hay. That was my first job I had. That job paid $3 a day. Yeah, and I liked it to work. But when I got married, I was married at 17. I started working at a sawmill. Well, I had put my age up because they had to have insurance on you and everything. Of course, you worked around a lot of big saws and things. So I put my age up to 21. And I worked but I was making less at the sawmill than I was at the harvest fields, Oh, yeah. My wife said 11.47. Well, it was 12.47. we. Well, I really didn't feel so bad about it until one day this infantry division came through, and he saw that we was black support. I was in the 351st Field Artillery Battalion, and they had, although they had our record on showing you what grade scores that we did back in the state before we went overseas, they request that we come back and take a test, and they see it. So we had to take a test, although we had been there for over 3 months as their general support. But they wanted to see how we did. So I feel that it was kind of bad feeling to think because we was black, they didn't think we was qualified to handle the field artillery. So we got together and decided that we was going to flunk the test and we'd be back so far when we here going by. But we only had one white officer. All the rest of them were black. We didn't know that he was going to call this white officer going to talk to him, but he was smart. He got this black maid to talk to him. And this black maid, he said, I know how you feel, that they don't want you up here. They don't think you qualify. He said, but I want you boys to go out there tomorrow and show them really what a black man can do. And that day we went out there and we made 98 on that test. Those boys showed them what a black man can do. Yes. Well, I had one of the greatest feelings. The German people, a lot of them had lived in the United States, and they would question you why would you fight for a country that discriminates you like they did and treats you like they did, and you want to come on? So my answer was to them, I don't know no country but the United States. That's the only country I know anything about. I had never been out of the United States at that time. I said, that's the only thing I know. That's my home. And I said, and I feel good fighting for anybody that's going to try to come in and take my home. That's my home. And I feel good about fighting. Yeah. Well, when I finished my basic training, we was trained on the West Pro officers. We got some real good training. But when I went to Oklahoma, joined my outfit, they was an infantry outfit, and they turned them over to a field artillery. They took books. They trained their own self out of books and things. So when I got there, the battery that they put me in, we was using dummy shell. All the other batteries, they had live ammunition. So I asked the lieutenant, why is it that we're using dummy shell, and they telling me within 3 months we're going to be overseas? I said, and we are training here with dummies. So he laughed at me. He said, well, they didn't tell you, but Corporal Richard set off the wrong elevation, and he tore up a formal bond and killed a lot of stock, and the government had to pay for it. So that's why they're not allowed to use it. So I told him, I said, well, okay. I said, I went to the sergeant and I told him, I said, give me the #1 position. The #1 position candidate, he received the fire missions as they come down. And he tell each one of them, see, it's 7 of them. Each one of them got a different job to do. He to give that job to each one of them, including the gunner. And I said, I'll work with Corporal Richard. I worked with Corporal Richard because I was trained as a gunner. I knew this job backwards and forwards. And so I taught him a lot of things about that gunner sight that he didn't know, and how to operate it fast and correct. And within 2 weeks, because they check it every time we get a fire mission, although we was running dummies, and he was on the ball for 2 weeks. And then they give us live ammunition. And so the sergeant and the whole gun crew, they were very proud of me right there. Yeah. You know, in a war, you do a lot of suffering. You fight day and night, a lot of times 4 and 5 days and night without sleep. And you get back home, you think about all that you went through with it, and still they would not give you equal break, equal time on job. A lot of people, plants you go to, we don't have black. No, it's a hurt. But I prayed and hoped that one day that the white man would realize, that we have as much right as some of these Chinamen, Mexicans, whatever comes to this country, as long as you're not black. That's not fair. But I prayed and hoped that one day they would open up their heart to see that they were doing us wrong and would allow us a chance in our country just like it's theirs. Because we helped build this country with free labor. We weren't paid, free labor. And why not give us a chance? Not handing out, but just an equal chance in life. And that's what I prayed for. We haven't made it there yet, but we're on our way. I really love Martin Luther King. I love that man because when I first heard of him, they were talking about him having 52,000 black. marching, refusing to ride the bus. I said, anytime one man can put them and the black folk together, he's some man. I said, I don't care what it costs, if he ever comes to St. Louis, his first speech, I'm going to be there. And I was there to hear. But I think about all that he went through with the suffering that he did. He didn't give up. He kept on pushing for the right that we have. And most of these rights was on the book. They were just ignoring them. Yeah, he wasn't asking for no new laws. He was asking for the law that was on that book that they were denying us all these years. In the morning that the doctor called me, I had dropped off because I was so tired of working. I was going to work. And so the doctor called me and he said, well, Brother Watson, you have a daughter. I said, Doctor, will you go back and take a closer look and make sure you're right? He said, yeah, I'm right, Brother Watson. It's a girl. I was so proud of that little girl. And I was having just that one girl. Well, they seem to think that we kind of spoiled her, but I don't really think we did. But we know she's everything that you look for from a daughter. When she was 6 years old, she had a blockage in her bladder, and so we carried her to the hospital. And when I picked her up, this nurse passed by. She said, Daddy, said, when I grow up, said, this is what I want to be. I want to be a registered nurse like him. And today, she graduated from St. Louis University, and she's been a nurse at that same hospital for 32 years. Yeah. Imagine a girl 6 years old knowing what she wants. You know, that's amazing. My wife, I think she is one of the sweetest and greatest women that ever was born. I love her as being a wife and a great mother and a great grandmother. She is always out there concerned. She never kicks about nothing that I say I want to do for my children, all of my grandkids. She's right there with me. I'm going to tell you about her. We was in Spain, and this white guy came by, and he asked her, he said, why did you people, listen to here, why did you people take this trip? So my wife said, well, we've been on several trips, and so my husband chose this one. And so they had told us don't go out on this beach. We were just a half a block from it, the Harbor Hotel. If we had any jewelry or anything, put it in the safe because our room wasn't ready. So he took him and his wife went out on the beach, and he come back in about 10 minutes. He said they took everything we had, our passport, all the money, so we ain't got a dime. And so my wife told me, he said, if you need $300 or $400 to carry you over till you can get some of this crate, because he had American Express, they reimbursed those, you see. But it take a little time, you know. She said, I can let you have $300 or $400. Now, this is the same guy but wanted to know, the white guy wanted to know about what you people taking this trip. But she wants to give him help. You see what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's not because he's white or black, he was American, and she wanted to help him. And you know what he come back and told us later? He said, it was 49 white folks, but you know y'all the honest one offered to help me. He said, but I appreciate it. I'm going to see what the business, what the traveling agent can do. And so They took head for it. But I'm going to show you what type of person she is. Yeah.